Good morning. How are you all today? Blessings to all of you and your families. Thank you for visiting with us today and welcome to our Bible class with Andre and Betty. We're beginning our studies in the second book of Samuel. And it's a new subject, but it's based upon the ending of First Samuel. And so in this book of Second Samuel, David will be enthroned as king, but right now he's still he's anointed to be king, but he will not become king until I think the next couple of chapters. Okay, so we're in 2 Samuel and we're in chapter 1. Our subject is David's response to King Saul's death. So now begins this subject that we're on now. Now it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had abode 2 days in Ziklag. And that's 1 Samuel chapter 30 we read about, verses 17 through 26. So he had been 2 days in Ziklag, verse 2. And it came even to pass on the 3rd day that, behold, a man came out of the camp from Saul, with his clothes rent or torn, and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he came to David, that he fell to the earth and did obeisance. So he's showing honor and respect to David, but he's going to come up with a story that can be validated as false in 1 Chronicles, the 10th chapter, verses 1 through 14. But he paid respect to David because David was not king, but he was well spoken of amongst the people of Israel. Verse 3. And David said unto him, From whence comest thou? And he said unto him, Out of the camp of Israel am I escaped, because the war had taken place with the Philistines. And David said unto him in verse 4, How went the matter? David didn't know about the war until now. How went the matter? I pray thee, tell me. And the man answered, that the people are fled from the battle, and many of the people also are fallen and dead. And Saul and Jonathan, his son, are dead also. So this is when David hears of Saul's death. And he only mentioned the son Jonathan, but Saul had 2 more sons, or 3. He had, I think, 3 sons altogether. Verse 5. And David said unto the young man, David said unto the young man that told him, How knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan his son is dead? Then he's contrived this story. And the young man in verse 6 that told him said, As I happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. Verse 7. And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called unto me. And I answered, Here am I. This is the young man. And this is the death of Saul is in chapter 31. You may want to go back and read it and compare. It's totally opposite from what was said in chapter 31. But to confirm, because God confirms things by 2 or 3 witnesses, First Chronicles chapter 10, verses 1 through 14 will show us what really happened. So it's going to say almost the same thing as does 1 Samuel chapter 31. And so we're back to 2 Samuel, and we're at verse 8. And he said unto me, Saul said unto me, Who art thou? And I answered him, I am an Amalekite. And remember in 1 Samuel, God had told Saul to kill Agag and all the Amalekites. And Saul disobeyed God. And he said unto me, Who art thou? And I answered, I am an Amalekite. And he said unto me again, Stand, Saul is saying to this young man, Stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me. For anguish is come upon me, because my life is yet whole in me. This is after he had been hit by the weapon earlier, verse 10. So the Amalekite says, So I stood upon him and slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head and the bracelet that was on his arm, and I have brought them hither unto my Lord. Verse 11. Then David took hold on his clothes and tore them, or rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him. Verse 12. And this is David's response to when he learned that Saul had died. Verse 12. And they mourned and wept and fasted until even or evening for Saul and for Jonathan his son, and for the people of the Lord, and for the house of Israel, because they were fallen by the sword. Verse 13. And David said unto the young man that told him, Whence art thou? And he answered, I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite. Verse 14. And David said unto him, How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thy hand to destroy the Lord's anointed? And David called one of the young men and said, Go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died. So this young man died. And David said unto him, Thy blood be upon thy head, for thy mouth has testified against thee, saying, I have slain the Lord's anointed. So he said, you're going to reap what you sow. You should not have killed the Lord's anointed. And now David mourns for Jonathan and Saul. Verse 17. And David lamented with this lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. And also, verse 18, he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher, and that's the book of the upright, and we don't know where that book is. Some say it's in the apocryphal books. But anyway, that book of Jasher is not part of the scripture that we have. Verse 19. This is how he mourns and talks about King Saul. The beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places. How art the mighty fallen? Verse 20, tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the streets of Askelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. Verse 21, ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let there be rain upon you, nor fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty is vilely taken away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil. Verse 22, for the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back, and the sword of Saul returned not empty, saying that Saul and Jonathan were great warriors, yet they had fallen by the enemies of the Philistines. Verse 23. This is still a part of David's lamentation. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, pleasing to look at. And in their death, they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, and they were stronger than lions. And this is how David saw King Saul. Even this is occurring after Saul has spent so much time tracking David to kill him. And this gives us an understanding how we're to treat those that despitefully use us or misuse us. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. Verse 25. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places, that is the mountains of Gilboa. Then he says, this is David, I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. Now, people have used this verse to say that this allows homosexuality. That's not what I read, but however it's written in the Bible is what I'm sharing. So I just read the verse to you. But David and Jonathan, in my thoughts, have the kind of brotherly love that we as believers are to have toward each other. And then he concludes by saying in verse 27, how are the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished. So thank you all for listening. We'll go into chapter 2 next time. And you all have a great day and a great week, and bless your families for me. Bye.